on the heels of millennials, Gen Z, and these guys are going to be even more, I guess, swayed or impressed by ESG reporting, and it's going to become, and maybe it already has. You guys are the experts here, but it's going to become table stakes, right? In order to attract that talent and stuff like that. It's not going to be a nice to have like maybe it has been in the past. It's going to be, hey, here's what gets you in the door, and then all the other traditional stuff.
I think that's what we're quickly saying is not only for attracting talent, but also attracting investors. And we can kind of, talk about how this is, I think, an ESG report, some basic disclosure, let's say, about how you're managing these risks is almost becoming, yeah, like you said, it's you have to have it just to get it to the door nowadays. And really, if you're not doing it, I think investors are passing up, and you're potentially losing, the ability to access the capital you need for your growth or expansion plans at an affordable rate. I think when we talk about, how can ESG reporting support the long-term viability of the companies, we can also talk about how basically what gets measured gets managed, right? There's a lot of risk involved in business, environmental risk, safety, whatever it is, applicable to your business. And I think, if you're publicly reporting on your safety data, for example, your environmental data, right, it gives that extra push to make sure you're performing as you should.
Yeah, and you're holding yourself accountable.
Well, and I'll also add to that, when we talk about ESG, environmental, social, governance related issues, the line of what's material, financially material, and what's not financially material has blurred significantly. And as more and more very serious and influential global financial institutions begin to consider certain industry-specific ESG risks to be financial risks, and that's, direct quote from the latest BlackRock CEO letter in January of 2020, this year: climate risk is financial risk, period.
Mm-hmm.
And the more that is, that idea becomes mainstream, and I don't think you can get more mainstream than the largest asset manager in the world. The more that becomes mainstream, the more that these issues are not going to be optional to evaluate, measure, and report on. And so, I think that speaks to the sort of risk management perspective of ESG, which is, people, I think, sometimes confuse ESG investing with impact investing. Impact being like seeking a specific positive societal or environmental impact, and ESG simply being another layer of screening for your investment, another layer of risk assessment, right? And so if you consider ESG risks, those that are of course appropriate for the industry and the business that you're examining, if you consider those as additional risk screenings, essentially, and you as a company look at what are those material ESG risks that could impact the long-term viability of the company, what you're going to get is a stronger company, and you're going to get a company that understands the full picture of the risks it's facing, and will face soon if they haven't already come across them, in the case of climate. So I think there's that as well, is it's a long-term hedging of risk by when you really take these issues seriously. And the upside is that, a solid reporting regimen with this can really contribute to operational efficiency. And it should, if it's set up properly, it should contribute to operational efficiency, whether that's cost savings. It should contribute to other opportunities and maybe potential sources of revenue that had been considered back burner things. You can kind of bring those to the front burner. And then, of course, most importantly for this conversation, really giving you that extra bump for your brand.